Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I say weekly, but obviously we've been on a little hiatus for the last few weeks. But I am back from my Orlando trip now, and I'm your host, Trevor Starkey. Joining me today, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, what's going on?
What is going on?
Trevor, it's a bit of a celebratory moment, so let's go ahead and crack open a cold one.
Sure. Knock yourself out. One of your many raspberry ice?
Strawberries and cream.
Strawberries and cream. Yeah. All right. Dr. Peppers, which I hear our friend Andy Cortez over at Kind of Funny really hates Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I heard that, and it's like, man, just like it's just more evidence and proof that you need to know that there's no such thing as a perfect person.
I've got my just regular Dr. Pepper here.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking not about, we might talk about my Disney World trip, I guess. I guess that would be another thing I can talk about. I'll throw that onto the docket. But our main topic is going to be Baldur's Gate 3. That is a game that Cameron and I have been putting many hours into. So then we'll do some Super Space Club, and then we'll kind of just wrap up with my Disney World thoughts, I guess. In particular, in comparison to my many trips to Disneyland, and kind of breaking down my thoughts on the two. A little bit of housekeeping first, though. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. So, Cam, we're gonna, I guess, probably stay spoiler-free on Baldur's Gate 3, as we are. You're well ahead of me in the game.
I'm rounding out Act 3, so I'm almost done with the game.
Yeah, I'm playing two playthroughs. In one of my playthroughs, the original one I started, I'm in Act 2, probably getting near to the end of Act 2. And then in my other one that I'm using for our Let's Play series that started up this last week, I'm nearing the end of Act 1. But obviously not many of those episodes have released yet. I've just kind of recorded a whole bunch in the can. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm looking at my Steam thing, my Steam counter, and it says 64.7 hours. But I will also jump out there and say that's probably missing 25 hours plus that I was playing on my Steam Deck in offline mode while I was in Orlando on my work trip, work/Disney trip. So let's dive in. Cam, hit me, especially as you are much more of the D&D, person than myself. I'm obviously a lot newer to it.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts here on Baldur's Gate 3?
Well, so I will say I've put in 82 hours. However, 82 hours, that's with a single playthrough. Mm-hmm. You're doing like a back-to-back playthrough, playing through different saves. So like you're roughly, I would think you're like probably at like a 60-40 split as far as your time goes with those.
I wouldn't even try to guess.
Makes sense. I'm at this point, I'm fully in on like 80 plus hours on a single playthrough. Trying to do everything I can. This game is awesome. It's great. My D&D background, for people who don't know, may have missed some of those episodes where we talked about Dungeons and Dragons. I started playing in 3.5. I was my first D&D character was what's called the Duskblade, which is a like magic knight or like a magic swordsman type class that's like an expanded class in 3.5 even, so not even part of like a main core class. But most of my experience with Dungeons & Dragons is actually DMing. I've DM'd a couple of different campaigns. I've DM'd a number of one-shots. I even did somebody's bachelor party where they wanted to do a D&D one-shot. I've done a lot of D&D. As not a lot, but not as much as like a lot of veteran. I would not call myself a veteran, like DM or a veteran D&D player. But there are people out there that that play a lot of D&D, and kind of the overall consensus is like, yeah, this is a great adaptation of 5th edition. There's obviously like some things that don't need to be carried over and some things that just can't be carried over from the rule set. But I think they've done an amazing job of translating it over. I think that the classes are like all individual, unique playing them. It's just been an absolute blast kind of like playing through Baldur's Gate 3 and enjoying kind of the adaptation of tabletop game kind of like into this world. I'm not somebody who's played any previous Baldur's Gate games. I've never even played Neverwinter's Nights or anything. The first like quote unquote D&D game I ever played was KOTOR. And even then that was just using like a basic D20 system.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to like these sorts of things, I am relatively new on the video game side of it. I'm much more like the closest thing I got besides KOTOR is like Dragon Age, like the original Dragon Age I was pretty heavily into. That I would say that this feels very much in that same spirit of like that classic computer RPG, CRPG that I've been seeing running around lately. Kind of like that new definition of what previously we were calling Western RPGs. They've kind of more coined it to classic or computer RPGs, which I'm a fan of. I like that. I think it's a great definition of it. It's now made me interested in going back and playing those older games, because they're old BioWare games too. On top of that, so I'm super interested in it. It's really really cool. Yeah, I've been playing a ton and just having a blast doing it. I rolled something they're doing that's really really cool that not even like 5th edition really gives you an opportunity to do is you can customize what kind of half elf you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a drow half elf, but when I chose my drow half elf, it's like you can kind of like dictate in your when your drow heritage comes up, you can kind of dictate your like what kind of even drow you are. If you're like from a family of like loth centered drow, or are you from a family of like surface drow? And I'm like, that's so cool that they really get into the nitty gritty details of like helping you kind of flesh out your character. Not just in the character creation screen section, but also through your dialogue choices as you go forward, as you kind of like reveal more of your character naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that as a DM, I like doing. Like we literally had that happen yesterday when we ran a session where I was like pulling in for like piecing together information with John about his character. And like, that's just something that I enjoy doing as a DM. So getting to see it done kind of like on that video game scale is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. I love seeing that, whether it's small moments like that or it's big moments where like there have been some like reveals of some enemies of like big bosses and stuff that have been really cool. It's like stumbling ass first into a like massive I'm trying to think like how to best say it without spoiling anything, but like a universal conflict that's going on. Like stumbling ass first into it and just like being involved in it. And it's just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's been so much fun. It literally kicks off with you like basically being kidnapped by the Illithids, which is the Cthulhu looking dudes with the tentacles and the psychic powers. And you're just like, basically you get like a worm stuck in your eye and that's it. Like that's your launching off point. Like, how do you deal with it? How are you going to like react to it? You have like a limited amount of time to like deal with it, but what are you going to do about that? And like, it's the question of like a ticking time bomb in your head. Like, how do you deal with this sort of thing, this pressure, these issues? And it kind of as the larger story kind of unveils itself, it just continues to add on and stack and stack and stack to really incredible moments. I just wrapped up one that is a major spoiler, so I can't talk about it in detail, but it was super stressful and strenuous. And I didn't get all I wanted out of it, but at the same time, like I got enough that I'm like, okay, I'm good with this. I'm willing to save scum if I like totally botch something. It's like, well, that's a reload.
Mm-hmm.
But there's moments where it's like, that was really hard to get through. And on top of that, I'm really happy with my performance in that moment. I look forward to coming back on another playthrough with like a different kind of character on taking that approach. So I'm loving it. I'm definitely going to be putting multiple playthroughs through this game. Building out different kinds of relationships, because this is also another thing. Your companion characters are so diverse and your reactions to who they are and the decisions they want to make. And kind of the route that I've gone with a lot of these characters with is very particular to the character that I built at the beginning of the game. And I can definitely see how having a different character can lead you through a completely different set of circumstances. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the outcome of when something's happened, like you and I, like I had a total like shocked Pikachu face moment when you told me, you're like, yeah, so this happened to me. It's like, I'm like, that can happen.
Yeah.
That's insane. What do you mean? But what about what about this and this? And you're like, no. And I'm like, Just like how, like that's so crazy because that's such a ballsy move by Larian to be willing to make these decisions that basically be like, yeah, that happened, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Is I'm loving in particular now, kind of comparing and contrasting my two playthroughs. There are some things I'm just kind of doing the same thing, but I'm very looking forward to like revisiting this game multiple times, and just like there will be a time where I'm like, I am just going to go super hardcore evil and like side with all the big bads and all that stuff, and just see what I can do in that regard.
I mean, they're straight up like they're like an origin character. So that's another thing they do that's really cool. It's like if you don't want to customize your own character, that's not the kind of gamer you are. Pick one of their origin characters, which is like a stock of 8 characters, 7 of which can be your can actually be your like your teammates, or is it 6 characters?
Well, there's there's Lae'zel, Shadowheart, Asterion, Will, Gale, Karlach, and then I think the Dark Urge.
The Dark
so
Urge.
I think there's 6 that like will join your party, and then a 7th origin character that will not.
That will not, and is in particular like a crazy, totally different kind of character that's unique entirely to that singular playthrough that you get with the stock character, which is something also just super cool and incredible for them to do with. And also I did a little bit of like, I kind of like ended up accidentally stumbling into something that has like, not spoilers, but like reveals something about that path. And I'm like, that's so crazy that you can just like, that is so unique to that playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild. That embracing the dark urge, being an evil piece of garbage, and like how that has like big ups for you if you actually choose to be a monster.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah.
Just like, it's so cool.
So yeah, another way of gauging where we're at, kind of comparatively, like you are at the cap level of 12 in the game.
Is 12 the cap?
12 is the cap.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. I hit cap. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, 12's the cap. And I saw a good breakdown of like why 12 is the cap, and it's because like starting at like level 13, your characters will start getting level 7 spells, which will just start breaking the world.
Yeah. That's a bit sad. I was looking forward to that, but okay.
Yeah, no. So Larian did have to kind of like put a cap on there.
To be fair, I'm very strong at level 12. I'm very, very strong.
In my more advanced Act 2 playthrough, my characters just hit level 8. I think I'm like level 5 or 6 in my Act 1, where I've done almost everything in Act 1, basically.
You can. I think I read somewhere you can get to like level 7 or 8 just by doing everything you can do in Act 1.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. I didn't realize how much I left on the table when I went into Act 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
There were just as I started up my second playthrough, there were so many things I was like, oh, I didn't do this the last time around. Like whole sections and whole like maps and stuff that I just didn't even visit, because it was like, okay, you get to a point where it's like, okay, you've got like a couple different routes to go to the next thing, and I took one of them, didn't realize I could go back and like try and take the other route if I wanted to and stuff like that. I thought it was very much like, okay, you've locked in now to the act break kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And then I ended up like going back in like Act 2 to the act, like through one of the paths in Act 1. I'm like, oh, that's totally different than what was going on. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with it. Comparatively, in our home campaign, we just hit level 5 last night at the end of our session, and I. In both playthroughs, I've built my character to be based off of my half-elf cleric Tyson, cleric of Bahamut, and was so pleasantly surprised at like how 1-to-1 I could like make it. There are like a couple differences here and there. Like obviously, the game gives you like a set amount. They use kind of the buy system for the ability scores and stuff up front, whereas we did rolls and kind of like homebrewed like, hey, you don't have to have a score lower than 10 if you want. Like if you get an 8, re-roll.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a DM rule from my background. I hate it when people are like, oh man, I'm rolling badly because I have bad stats because the dice gave me bad stats. And it's like, well, or you do it this way.
Or we have more fun.
Yeah. Or like, oh man, I'm doing rolling okay, but like I'm never getting like a killer awesome roll in the thing that I'm supposed to be good at. And I'm like, okay, well let's just change that up.
Yeah. So I couldn't like make those stats 1-to-1. And then there are like some spells and stuff here and there that I can't get because they're just not in the game. Like the example I gave to John, your brother-in-law playing with us, was like spare the dying just isn't a thing in the game.
Nope.
So I didn't need to pick up that cantrip at the beginning. And also like the game doesn't have really a thing for like language proficiencies and stuff like that, which I thought would have been interesting if it was like, okay, yeah, you're suddenly talking to goblins, and if you don't speak goblin or whatever, you can't pick those up. But I appreciate that they did want to like streamline some of these elements. And I'm just having so much fun with it. I know a lot of complaints that I've heard about the game in amongst like everybody's like universal praise about the story and the characters and kind of the exploration is the combat.
Yeah.
And I'm especially, having gotten into the bonus action economy of D&D in recent years, like I'm loving it. I love the tactical. I love that I have the time to think out what I want to do, try and like figure out, okay, what's going to be the best strategy here. I've got, I know my initiatives of these characters and the initiatives of the enemies, so I can go ahead and kind of like plan out, okay, if I have my first character up, toss a grease bottle, and then like a second character launch a, a flaming arrow or something, and they're going to get, I can kind of like build combo attacks and stuff like that. I definitely don't do that as much as I should. A lot of it is I'm just kind of like going in there, hacking and slashing and stuff. But it's great to have those options, and like the abundance of scrolls that I've got in my arsenal and special arrows that I've got in my arsenal mean that like I can have such a like an endless variety of different approaches and whatnot. And I love that it does fully embrace like the D&D stuff, and you can completely avoid big conflicts if you roll high on a persuasion score or something like that, and kind of talk your way out of a thing. That's been a lot of fun. Or it'll be fun to like roll that, get the success, and see what that reaction is like, and then maybe I am like, okay, but I do want to just kill that guy, so I'm gonna reload a save and explore that. I've also save scummed a lot, but there have been a few big things that happen. I'm like, all right, you know what? I am going to roll with that. I'm going to see how that plays out. And the big one that you and I were talking about kind of early in Act 2.
It's a big one that I found out online that a lot of people fall into. I didn't realize that. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Your game can go very differently depending on like one particular combat encounter.
It does not set you up for. So.
Yeah. And so, it was really cool to have that moment of like, hey, when you did this, how did this play out? And you were like, oh, it played out very differently for me. I'm like, oh, I'm very curious what I'm not going to be able to see anymore because of how things, like what I've been locked out of because of how things have played out.
When you get to Act 3, there's one particular place that I'm really curious what it turns out that place is because of something that happened to somebody for you in Act 2. I'm really curious how that ends up turning out. So. Yeah. And it's not even like a major thing. It's just like a very minor thing. It's like relating to a merchant. And I'm like, I'm curious. How does this work out, man?
Yeah. But it's like, I'm having a ton of fun with it. And like, it's another one that, like a lot of games I've done this year of like, I'm playing a Let's Play version of it. So I am kind of like locked into, okay, I'm only doing this during certain hours when like you're at work or something like that. And I can kind of like sit down and just kind of have that to myself to sit down and play. But I'm also excited at some point to sit down and do like a multiplayer session with you.
Absolutely. We people be prepared for some content regarding that. I'm very excited to do that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I also for sure it'll be you and I, but like, who knows? We might you can do it online too. So we might pull someone else in.
Yeah. That might even be a fun thing of like, okay, when you're ready to start like a second playthrough, like let's just do a fresh playthrough. I'll spin up a completely different character and like we'll do that together.
That's kind of what I was hoping. I'm really wanting to do it. I'm playing a paladin, and so like I'm making some like really like I chose Oath of the Ancients, so I'm more of a neutral type character. But I'm still very much just like, I'm here to do the right thing, man. Like this world's gone to crap, and I'm here to I'm not here to set things right, but I'm here to be that light in the darkness. I'm here to like lead that change, be the change that I want to see in the world. And then I broke my oath because there came a choice where I'm like, I can't give this up. If I give up this thing, I'm like, it's going to be bad for me. I have to do this to make for a greater good. and that broke my oath.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? I mean, looking back on it, it makes total sense why that broke my oath.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, no, but I'm trying to do it. It's like, and then you talk to like the Oathbreaker, like guidance character, and it's like, oaths aren't negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you hold to it or you don't.
Yeah.
And it's not like where if you're a cleric and you follow a god where like there's some leeway, there's some stuff about it.
Yeah, like I'm a cleric of Bahamut, again, like pulling from our home game. And like there are plenty of times where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm cool with like the goddess Shar in this moment, or Selune. Like I can respect that other gods exist, and that's okay for my character. I don't get like a big old, disability or something disadvantage check on that. So yeah, it's cool. And
on the flip side, it's like, I'm totally cool with whatever god you want to worship. There's no conflict for gods or deities for me, but people like you have like, even then it's not even like my party members' moral choices don't actually affect my oath. But when your oath is on the line and you don't even recognize it, you don't even realize it. And it's a crazy moment when that happens. I was really blown away by it. And I'm like, it's cool. There's a video gamey kind of thing that I was like, I don't like that. And then they explain why that is that way. It's like, I get it. It's working for both the video game, but also within the lore of the world and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It matches with it being like it's like you pay gold to like get your oath back. But at the same time, it's a like, the gold is like the number of gold is representing something.
Yeah.
And it's not an insignificant amount of gold, but it's also not like a crazy amount either. But it's like, why is it this arbitrary amount? And then they explain it. It's like, that makes total sense. And I like that it's like that they're willing to do that. I like that they're willing to have that be my character made a choice. And like, I have had the opportunity to regain my oath and I just haven't because internally, Truce, who's my character that I made, I'm like, Truce doesn't feel like he made the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't feel like he felt that making either choice was breaking his oath. And so if that's the case, then he keeps his broken oath. His oath may be broken, but it's still his oath.
Yeah.
He's an oath breaker because he carries a broken oath. Not because he broke his oath that he's an oath breaker, which is like a weird nuanced way of dealing with it. But also it's let Truce kind of like spread his wings a bit and just be like, yeah, I am going to fight you for this. Like, I am going to fight you. It's like, I know who you are. You're a bad person. And I could just outright murder you, do an auto murder, but I'm not going to. Pick up your sword. Let's do this one-on-one, mano-a-mano. And I just like killed him, but it was like in combat. And I'm like, there's something just about that. There's something good about that. And I liked it because I was like, it was an evil character. And it was just like, that's super cool. And it's super unique to like my playthrough that I had with it. And like my relationship with that character. And I'm like, this is so cool that Larian is like, they're like, I'm glad it's been in early access for such a long time because they've been able to play test it with so many people.
Yeah.
Like this was a top selling game for a really long time on Steam, but people were just playing the early access of it. And it's really blown up out of just like, not out of nowhere. Like I think if you consider all the people who already bought the full game as sales, like they already had a pretty good game, like selling game on their hands.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that have bought it and the amount of people that are playing it are insane. It is crazy how many people are like big time streamers too. And like, there's like a really minor, like insignificant Twitch, like incentive to watch people who stream it. But all you get is like some clothes that you don't even wear in the game, like for the majority of the game. Yeah. And it's just purple.
Like camp clothes. Yeah.
It's camp clothes. And it's just purple and like light pink, like light purple / light pinkish, like Twitch color wear.
Yeah.
It's not like you get like a cool sword or anything. It's like the smallest of incentives to watch people do it.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing has been seeing people that like this isn't their kind of thing. Like I was referencing a lot kind of funny earlier kind of thing of like they don't like the combat of the game because they don't like the D&D combat action, bonus action, movement kind of economy, but like they love everything else about it, which is really cool to get to see, and the fact that the game gives you enough opportunities to kind of skirt combat or avoid combat Especially, I will also say, like, playing my second playthrough on kind of the Explorer easy mode, like it definitely, combat is still there, but like the way kind of Explorer mode handles your characters, like you have saving throw proficiencies in every stat. So like
Hmm.
you're gonna save a lot more.
Yeah.
Enemies have I think a little bit less hit points, so some of them aren't as spongy. And then I think you're
From what I've seen, they're also lower level than they would be on normal.
yeah
Like if
probably.
it's normal, they're usually at like minimal at your level or above.
Hmm.
And for explore mode, I've seen people say it's like they lower the basically they change it from a challenge rating of what it would be
Hmm.
to a challenge. Like they've kept the challenge rating
Yeah.
system, which is great. I think that's awesome. I think it's a really cool way to give a unique experience. If you want to, if you were like playing the explore mode and you're like, I feel like it's too easy, I want up my challenge rating. You go up to
Hmm.
the regular mode,
And
and
then
yeah.
there's tactician above that. That's like the hard mode kind of stuff.
But what I found interesting about it is people were saying it's not like it's like the enemies are any tougher. It's just that they are more,
The AI is smarter, I
yeah,
think.
the AI is smarter about it, and like
Yeah.
they're more willing to use spells that maybe they wouldn't otherwise.
Mhm.
And there's tactics that they'll use that are like high end tactics around it that like you have to really be an expert to do it. And so like they
Yeah.
even recommend, even if you have played these games before, like do not do the hardest mode unless you've played the game before,
Hmm.
because it really is about like at that point knowing the game well enough that you can go back and like be better at it.
Yeah, I had a fight not too long ago that was like it was the first time enemies started using counterspell on me. I was like, oh, okay, that's a thing I've got to get used to, and that's on my like normal mode playthrough. But I think one of the a big HP sponge heavy enemy that I fought in like explorer mode had like a little over 200 experience points or hit points or something, and then I went back and played that same enemy fight in in my original kind of
Your
regular
normal
mode,
mode playthrough, yeah.
and he had like over 300.
Yes.
So like that was a an example of like, okay, yeah, that's a sizable difference that's going to take a few more rounds for my characters to kind of like whittle that down.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's one of the things I like about this also is like if you have like hard hitting characters, there's certain things you have to do to make it so they're hard hitting.
Mhm.
Like with Karlak, you have to go into a rage and you have to like beef her up before she starts doing her attacks, and then she can do crazy amounts of damage, but it takes time. My paladin, I have a limited number of times I can use smite because that takes up my spell slots.
Yep.
And so I became a smite machine. Like that's basically all I do at this point, but I can't keep going with that forever. It's not a constant thing. And there's rage points. Like a Karlak eventually runs out of rage points.
Yeah.
But to the flip side of that, as long as you can keep using your cunning action with Asterion, he can keep getting sneak attacks.
Yeah.
And I'm loving that. I
Yeah.
love having that as an option. I love how strong spells are. Magic is not at all like limited or nerfed like it is in a lot of video games because they want to like balance it out. It's like there's the benefits of it, but also if you are a magic user, you can get absolutely wasted hard fast.
Oh, I am running right now. I'm in like a crypt kind of place where there's a lot of undead, and I am running with Tyson, my character, as with his like radiant spirit guardians, and I also have Shadowheart in my party, another cleric also running, and so like the two of us just kind of like dash around the map and just watch skeletons turn to dust.
Absolutely, yeah.
And just let the because even if they save, they're taking half damage, and it's a lot of damage.
But I mean, even then, here's the kicker of that. That only works because they're undead.
I mean, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like the radiant damage does a fair bit to non-undead as well. But yeah, like in these undead spaces, these are where these characters are built to shine.
Oh yeah, I was
and,
using,
and
yeah.
I because once I've got the spell up, it's it's a concentration spell, so I don't have to like recast it or whatever. So I can also run in, and if I don't kill some, I can use a channel divinity and turn undead, and now it's they're it's not, they don't do full like change from turn undead to destroy undead, but it's like at level 5 the turn undead does damage to those enemies if they are turned. So yeah, they just get another hit there kind of thing. Yeah, that's I love how beefing up the characters is fun. Like leveling up the characters, it it often doesn't feel like you're getting a lot, but then you see how that plays out in combat. It's like, oh, this is my character is way stronger now, and is way more capable, even with just an extra thing of rage. Okay, if I lose my rage now, I can bust it back out one more time or something like that. What characters are you rolling with typically?
I roll around like because I'm towards the end of the game. I'm running up like I'm taking care of people's personal quests. But my main party for most of my playthrough has been Shadowheart's been a constant companion because she's my healer, but she's also an off tank for me. Because I have her running with a shield.
Mm-hmm.
And she runs with medium armor. Actually, she's heavy armor now because I had her I did some respecking. I was like, you're also you've also things that happened in her story. It's like, let's change you up a bit to make up for that. And make that represent that in the game itself.
Yeah.
There's that aspect of it. I have also, so she's been my constant. She's my boo. She's my babe. She's my lover. It's a great. So basically I'm romancing her as well. So it's like, yeah, me and my girlfriend are running around with our friends, and it's so dumb that I said that's so cringe that I said that. I'm a 33, almost 34-year-old man.
It's a fun aspect of the game.
It is
the romance stuff.
The romances are also each unique and very fun.
We'll talk about those a little bit more.
Moment, yeah. But I'm running with usually. So she's always with me, but then I will run with a combination of, mainly I've been heavy using Asterion and either Gale or Karlach.
Mm-hmm.
Asterian's kind of like the third constant in my team or my party, unless I need to drop him for, because eventually I dropped Gale for Karlach, and I ran through a good chunk of the game with Karlach just as kind of my back-to-back buddy cop bro character who we charge in together.
Mm-hmm.
She lights off because I have her as a rage barbarian, a berserker barbarian,
mm-hmm.
and so she launches into her rage and she just cleans house. Originally, I had her with a great axe that did additional fire damage, and so she was just cleaving people through with that. And then eventually, I got her with this legendary halberd that does a tremendous amount of damage. And so she is just now she also has extra reach because it's a halberd.
Yeah, and
she is just cleaning house. And I'm coming in to kind of be a backup on that, and then either if it's Gale or if it's Will, or if it's less likely it's Will, but if it's a Gale or Asterion. I will usually have Shadowheart backing them up and making sure they have cover from enemies and stuff. Blocking line of sight for spellcasters or ranged enemies, and then having either Gale or Asterion be kind of my back end sniper. Either throwing out I have a Gale decked out with big area effect spells.
Mm-hmm.
Shatter's insane in this game. I love Shatter so much now. Shatter and Shockwave, but Shatter, just throwing Shatter in the backlines of enemies, and then they get blown forward and they're knocked prone, and then getting free hits on them for that reason has been great. Because they get blown into the front line, and then you kill their spellcasters and healers and stuff. And then Shadowheart, other than that, just running support, heals, or launching guiding bolts, or some enemies got into our backline. Cool. Pop Spirit Guardians, or pop or drop down a Divine Guardian, Divine Spirit, and do that so that they have backup in the back line.
Yeah.
That's usually my go-to. If I have Will, I'll have Will kind of be mid-range to kind of do poke damage on people with Eldritch Blasts, or with his sword, his rapier.
Mm-hmm.
I have with a rapier that does additional psychic damage. So I don't have to worry about resistances from enemies.
Yeah.
And then if it's, that's pretty much who I run with. So there's other characters too. There's, I unlocked Housen as one, but he's really, if I was not playing a paladin, I think I would run with Housen maybe a bit more. Just because his bear form can tank so much.
Yeah, you druid.
Yeah. There's also other characters that you unlock later that are spoilers, so I won't say it, but I have them as well.
I predominantly run with Lae'zel, Shadowheart, and Asterion.
That's one person I don't run with is Lae'zel. Because I as a paladin, heavy armor, great weapon, I take up her spot.
Yeah, that's fair. I I like having her, and sometimes I'll like, since I don't realistically need Shadowheart in my party since I am already a cleric. Sometimes I'll swap Shadowheart out and have like Karlach run with us. I almost never use Will or Gale. I've pulled them out for like a little bit of stuff here and there. I love their story stuff. Like when I get to kind of progress that back at the camp and stuff. I'm fascinated by their characters. I just don't. In the mode I'm playing right now, I'm not like eager to run with a warlock and is he a sorcerer or wizard? Gale?
Wizard. He's a wizard.
Yeah. They're so spell heavy. And
that's not your style right now. I get that.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm looking to like when I level them up, and it's like, all right, add these spells. All right, now pick which spell you want to drop and which one you want to. Like, I love that as a cleric, I can just prepare my spells. I can swap those out at will, kind of thing. Whereas I'll feel a lot more locked in, and it's the thing, like when we do our co-op let's play, maybe I'll play a bard just to see what that's like and like dive into that kind of like more kind of weird experience of
next time I play, I think I want to play as a monk, because there's some interesting monk stuff going on in this game that like I really want to play a monk. I want to play like a Way of the Drunken Master type monk, if that's possible, because it looks fun. Yeah,
but I love even just those characters. And I've not tried like multi-classing them. I not really respect them either as I'm going. So I've just kind of been leveling them up, but like throwing points into Lae'zel's fighter stuff and playing with her maneuvers. Because I've got her as a battle master. Having in one of my campaigns, Asterion is a thief rogue type.
Nice. Okay.
So he gets an extra bonus action kind of thing, and so I can like one of those bonus actions is pretty much disengage, and the other like I move him around, and then I have him hide, and he gets like a sneak attack.
I have him running as a I told you this already, but I have him running as a assassin and gloomstalker.
Mm-hmm.
So he's he's 3 levels gloomstalker and maybe 4 levels now. I haven't played with him since I got like my last 2 level ups, so we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But he is kind of like, I do have like that like enough gloomstalkers to get like the ambush abilities, and so he always, and I have him with alert, so he's always popping off first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a guaranteed kill on one enemy.
I believe, by the way, going back to like the level cap, I believe there are mods out there that like will let you continue to a class will still cap out at 12, but like if you want a multi-class,
that's when you break into like multi.
You can get up to 20 with like multi-class stuff like that. It's
that's
just
cool.
You can't take a class more than 12 levels because they don't have the stuff in there for higher than level 12.
Actually, my paladin, I broke him into warlock to give him an extra spell slot, but also I'm gonna get him with Pact of the Blade, so you get like an extra attack with your pact weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do that with my pact and make my pact weapon my greatsword, and then just have extra attacks with it.
Yeah.
So that's my plan. I plan on just like getting as many attacks as possible with like as many more smites as I can start dishing out to clear out enemies, the better. Thunderous Smite is one of the best moves in the entire game. You unlock it at like level 4, and you just like you hit people. If they fail their save, they go prone. And I have a beefy charisma score, so my spellcasting score is pretty high. And like I'm knocking fools back 5 feet all the time. Running up with my second attack is just a regular divine smite, and just getting auto crits on them because of it. It's so dang good. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And I chose my pact to be with a great old one, because I'm already dealing with like kind of like the nebulous nature of the universe, right? So like. A great old one. And if I get my pact back, Oath of the Ancients, like an eldritch being is still an ancient one. So there you go. I'm not breaking any oaths with it either.
Sure. My in my other playthrough, Asterion is I didn't go thief. I went with like the trickster. Like that combined with like some gear that he's got. He's got gear that basically gives him shield. So he is out there at the front line getting those sneak attacks, and then like he's getting. Like people are swinging at him, and he's like popping up a shield, so he's not getting hit. And I'm like,
mine has a shield now as well, but I think he got it from being the Gloomstalker stuff.
And then with Karlach, with Lae'zel, I gave her Great Weapon Master, I think was the feat, where it's basically like you take a -5 to your attack rolls, but then you do 10 more damage
Yep.
on those attacks, and it's like
My
it's
paladin's
it's
always running that because I'm always
yeah.
rolling high. So
Yeah, it's like a toggle, so you basically like turn it on or off. And so like I'll check like what's the percentage of how close am I going to hit this guy? Oh, it's only 35. All right, I'm going to go ahead and aim
Toggle
for
it off?
trying to do a hit, toggle it off, and yeah.
yeah,
Especially like when they're still at like full health.
Yeah,
That
the
extra
little-
10 isn't going to do a ton right now.
the little math when I attack, it's like pluses, minuses.
Yeah. And then with Karlak, in one, I'm running her as a berserker, and like she's going out and frenzying stuff. And then the other one, I did I don't know the subclasses and stuff, but it's basically the one where like you choose an animal spirit. And she is a bear, which basically means she takes half damage for anything except
Yes.
psychic while enraged. So she is
Yep.
out there. Yeah, she is my tank. She is out there.
I think it's like wild, like the wild,
something
a
like
barbarian.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wildstorm or something like that.
So yeah, I'm having a ton of fun, and it is kind of the thing of like, okay, there will be a playthrough that I do at some point that is going to be okay. I'm gonna make an active choice to run with Will and Gale and one of those others, but like right now especially, like Astarion is pretty much always in my party, so I can lockpick and and disarm traps, because that is definitely a thing I need in my makeup. And then yeah, it's Shadowheart and Lae'zel are just like fun to have in there, in particular because it like I definitely was playing around with like romancing both of them, and then also also Karlak and stuff. We talked about like, oh yeah, you can be polyamorous. Not fully. I've definitely found I've found like if I make certain relationship choices, other people are like, hey, I'm not about that. And
I think that's good. I think that's fair.
Thanks for your time. So I was like, oh well, that I don't want to do. So I've like I loaded a save from like a couple hours earlier or something like that, so I didn't cut off some of those relationship things. But like I love the just the different flavors of those relationships, and the fun that they have. Like I love Lae'zel is much more like she is super like she knows what she wants and she will she will take it. Shadowheart's got all her mystery and stuff, which is fun.
Yeah, she's the mysterious one. Karlak is very much like, I like you a lot, we should date. And it's like,
I haven't been able to touch another thing because I set them on fire for many, many years, but like I like you. Yeah,
I like you a lot, and not just because I'm like I haven't been able to touch anybody, but also because like you're a really good person, or like you're a really nice person, or like you like inspire me and all sorts of stuff. It's like yep. Yeah, but also I see that you're like with Shadowheart. It's like yeah, I'm with Shadowheart, but it's like we're still BFFs. Like you are still. I'm gonna let you know this right now, Karlak. Like hand on your shoulder, I'm gonna let you know this right now. You are my best friend. I'm sure Gale, I thought was my best friend, but it turns out he had fallen in love with me. So like I had mixed messages with that. So like we had to clear that up, and we're good now. But what I thought was friendship, he wanted more than that, and what he thought was like a romantic interest for me was my friendship. So like we had to roll that back. But Karlak, as of right now, you are my best friend.
Yeah.
And what I love is like Karlak has like. Wasn't like a dialogue option, but that's kind of how like our dialogue's been flavored since then. Since I got in a relationship with Shadowheart, and so Karlak has kind of turned it into somebody asked it like, oh, is this like your boyfriend or something? And Karlak is just like, no, he's my best friend, and I'm like, we are best friends. Like you, me, Karlak, we're best friends. I like Will. Will's cool, but Will's also like just. Sometimes he like when you refer to yourself consistently in the third person, it's a lot. So when he says the blade of the frontier, he's referring to himself.
Yeah.
I don't need to know what the blade of the frontier is going to have for lunch. Well, I want to know what you want for lunch. I don't want to know like a backstory about your lunch order. Just give me your lunch. All right. Granted, Will's really cool as a character, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
He's cool. Halson also like immediately as soon as he was like no longer like in a leadership role, he became very horny, and I had to be like, dude, nah. Like you're cool and all, but like you're still like an authority figure in my eyes. Like there's a power dynamic here, but also you're cool and all, man. And like, don't get me wrong, you're a total hunk, but like, no, not feeling it with this character.
Mhm.
Another character probably will. Probably will.
Yeah,
Because I would like him to turn into a bear, and I would like to be a bear, and I would like us to have bear sex.
There you go. Have you? This isn't like a spoiler thing. I know, like there are Dragonborns that you can get in your, like you can make your character Dragonborn, and like I know the Dark Urge is a Dragonborn.
Yeah.
Have you like? Are there? Since you are further in the game, are there actually like NPC Dragonborns in the
Yes.
game? Okay, I've not encountered any. So
Where you've been, there wouldn't be.
yeah. But it was very much like a, well, it's knowing that the game's been in early access and stuff, like, oh, maybe they just added some things in as they've gone, but like, oh yeah, this is a character that you can make. Like as an example, like you can make a Dragonborn for your character, but for your like guardian character that's like the dream visitor and stuff like that, that is not it's not possible to make that.
I just took the default one. I was like, I don't want to design another character. I'm good.
Yeah. But like it's just, there are a few options that like don't carry over for that. So it's an interesting, like, oh, I wonder what the rationale with the choice for that was. And maybe I'll learn more as the game goes on. But yeah, I'm just having a ton of fun with this. As we were talking to your brother-in-law last night, and I was describing it like the you can do anything vibe that so many people love about the most recent Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like don't work for me as well in those games as like they do in this game that has like, yes, you can do everything, and here are the rules that are pretty clearly spelled out, that you are like working within, but like within those rules, yeah,
Anything
go
goes.
nuts. And I love like it is scratching that itch for me in a way that those games don't, and in a way that makes me want to explore the different wild choices I can make, compared to like, yeah, I don't want to spend 30 minutes trying to build the weirdest, wildest contraption I can in Breath or Tears of the Kingdom, but I will absolutely see what I can like stack around a room in order to get to a high place, just because I don't want to cast flight or fly and like just make a jump up there or something like that.
Yeah, I did not really experiment with fly until like a recent sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I got into some situations just like I need to be able to fly.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. Like there have definitely been some, again, going back to like sometimes I'm like, oh, this went bad. This went very bad. Sometimes I reload a save, and other times I'm like, this went really bad, but like I'm gonna see if I can make it through this.
There you go. Yeah.
Like there was one in particular where I was like, I came into a thing and people were like, all right, we're going to kill you now. And I'm like, oh crap. Can I just run away from this first? Because like, I'm outnumbered. You guys are probably a little higher level than me. I wasn't prepared for a fight, so like I haven't done a short rest or long rest or anything recently. I'm a little more tapped than I would like to be. So let me just go ahead and like use a dimension door and like get my people pretty much out of this room and see if I can run away. And then they chased me, and I was like, okay, running is not an option for this one. Well, at least I'm like getting them split out far enough, and I'm like able to make enough headway in my like dashing each turn that I can get them to a place where I can like bottleneck them, and I'm gonna like tactically use that, and basically they're gonna come through a door, and Astarion's gonna sneak attack and just do whatever he can, and like coming out the other side of that and like doing it successfully and stuff, and getting by with cantrips that sometimes are hitting and sometimes are not.
Yep.
Is so like fulfilling and rewarding, and I'm having a ton of fun with like those kinds of encounters too. So yeah, lots of good stuff. I can't wait to continue to see where the stuff goes. What are you thinking of, I guess, like again, non-spoilery, but like in terms of the overall story that they're telling?
Oh, I'm towards the end for sure.
Yeah.
I'm like about to do. I had.
Oh yeah, I know you're at the end. I'm just saying, like, what do you think of it? Like,
what do I think about it? I think
enjoying
it's
it.
awesome.
You having a great time with it? Is it
I don't think
the numbers.
Yeah, I don't think it is the most compelling narrative. But I also like it's not anything outside of what you'd find in like general or generic fantasy. It's just that it's done so well.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that it's breaking the mold with. It's not bringing anything really quote unquote new to the table.
Mm-hmm.
It's continuing a legacy and storytelling from a completely different studio. Even BioWare did the original Baldur Gates games, and like Larian Studios picked that up, and I think that they've done a tremendous job in making this a compelling experience without the narrative being the like driving force. I think that the overall narrative is very forward and simple. There's nothing about these quests that is like out of what you'd get out of a general like generic D&D table.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I was thinking it feels like, and I admittedly again I'm newer to D&D, so I don't have like the wide breadth of this, but like it feels like a fun source book that they've put out there. It's like, hey, here's a level 1 to 12 campaign for you to play through. We've given you a whole bunch of like different NPCs to engage with and a whole bunch of different like side things to explore. Have fun and go nuts. And yeah, I'm having a great time with it. And I love also that there is like a narrator that is kind of like the DM voice, kind of like explaining, oh, here's what that role success meant for you, and here's what you got out of it. I love kind of that vibe as well. Yeah. Or even more so, it's always fun. Like, here's how you failed that. All right, here's the information that you don't get, basically. And the like even. There are fun moments where it's like, okay, how role played do I want to be with it? I see that all of my characters just failed a perception check in the world. Do I keep walking knowing that I'm about to explode on a trap or something like that? Or do I be like, all right, let me find a different way around?
Yeah. Another thing I will say, sometimes they do drop some unexpected like results to me. Mm-hmm. There was a check I had to make. It was like a level 18, like an 18 DC check on like some insight. And I roll it, and I got it, and I got like an answer. It's like nope, like it's like nope. That like it is exactly what this person is saying. Like they are legit believing that this is what they actually believe, and I'm like, huh. Doesn't change my mind. This dude's got to go, but like good to know. Yeah, good to know that like turns out he wasn't turns out that wasn't the case, but okay,
he has to go for the right reasons.
Yeah, he has to go, and it's like maybe in another life. But also, if I was the kind of person who would say yes to this, I wouldn't be willing to share it either. So,
yeah,
like it is what it is.
Yeah. Any final Baldur's Gate 3 thoughts before we move on to the next topic?
Yes, my only final thought is this: it's that is she problematic as all fuck? Yes, but I will defend Shadowheart till my dying day. There's not a non-problematic like love interest in this game, and I respect that. I respect that everybody's got baggage, everybody's got their stuff they're dealing with, and even if it's not emotional or mental stuff, they got a physical thing going on, like with Karlach. Like they got a combustible engine in their chest, and they got to make it work somehow. And that's your goal, is to make this relationship work because of physical issues. And I'm like, I respect that. I respect that there's not a simple, easy to do romance in this game. Because even the person you're like, that's probably a simple, easy, romanceable character. It's like, no. Turns out she's part of a weird cult.
Yeah.
I mean, and that could literally be both. I mean, that could literally be like three of the characters.
Yeah, you just described at least two that I can think of.
2 characters minimum that I just described there. Possibly 3 if you chose an evil route on the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole thing to it. It's great. I'm loving it. Also weird that there's no bard side character. Like, if you want a bard, you have to be the bard.
Yeah, I mean, it's same for like a paladin. Well, again, there is a paladin you can get, but most people who are playing a good route are never going to get that character.
Accurate. You
basically have to be evil to pull and I think kill one of your other characters to get the evil.
So you either character. You can either get Housen or another character that is kind of like the joinable character that isn't part of the initial group.
I think. Yeah, but I think even to get that other character, I think somebody basically is going to be like, hey, I won't ride with them, and they will either leave your party or die.
I think that might be Will.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. because he is obviously the most like lawful good of your kind of party members. I do like that they it's not like a locked in kind of thing. Like you can get a sense of like the vibe of the different characters, but
they also change over time too.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Depending on like that's something also I love about it. It's like influence of like a lot of times when you assign a quote unquote character alignment to a character, it's like, oh well, that's your character's alignment, and sometimes it matters. Sometimes the DM won't pull it up. I like the idea that like, hey, you've made a lot of these decisions lately. Are you still lawful good?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea that no, you change, you move, and it's really more about like your personal approval with these characters than it is about their actual like alignment chart, like where they are on an alignment chart. It's more about like where are they at on a you alignment chart? Where are they at with like you being like their friend or their guide, their leader?
Mm-hmm.
Like how are they feeling about you? Because for Asterion, for a long time, I was like neutral to sometimes neg.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made some really strong decisions about helping him in his personal quest that moved him all the way back up to max approval.
Yeah, I get a whole lot of like, Asterion disapproves of the choices I'm making. I'm like, I know you're a spooky vampire elf guy.
You're a sassy elf vampire. I get it. You want to be the snarky, like you want me to make the snarky choices. But Asterion, I am a paladin. Sometimes I don't.
You
make
haven't
those
dealt
decisions.
with people. You haven't talked with people in 200 years. I get it. You're not a people person.
You're
Fine.
not. You are literally a creature of the night, Asterion, who now can walk in the day. You got to drop some of this incel level behavior, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like Asterion being like, oh, he's suave and he's sexy, he's a vampire, and then actually he's kind of a fucking incel.
I had an encounter recently where somebody was like, "Hey, will he bite me? Like, can you have him come here? I want to ask him to bite me." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll do that." And like, so I went to my camp, grabbed Asterion, put him in my party, took him back, and yeah, this lady was like, "All right, here's the deal. If you bite me, I'll give you this thing." And Asterian's like, no, I don't want to do that. and like one of the responses was like, "I thought you'd be all about this." And so that was what I picked. And he's like, "Can we talk for a second?" and she's like, he's like, "She has something wrong with her blood. I do not want it. Do not sell me for a potion." And I was like, "All right, no, that's your choice."
I know what character that is, and I know
Exactly.
the situation because I said, "Yeah, I'll definitely bring him," and then I never brought him.
Oh,
because I was like, "I'm just not going to do that."
Yeah. He so I was like, "All right, man, this is like
mainly because I thought it might turn into like
choice."
a weird creepy threesome, and I just didn't want that.
Yeah, no, it's like you've got options of like just take one for the team if you want or whatever, and you roll a persuasion check against him. And I was like, "No, man, your choice. You don't want to do it.
Your body, man. Your body,
right.
your choice."
Exactly. and like he loved me for that, and I was like, "Cool." I definitely thought you were gonna go for this, but all right.
He's breaking that incel vampire. That's another thing too. It's I'm like, I love how they're being realistic. Like, yeah, vampires are fucking incels. Like, they're weird, culty, like whatever. And I just love how Asterian's like unlearning that behavior. And I'm like, great. And he goes, yeah, like, one of my favorite things is like, yeah, so like about feeding on people. And I'm like, I mean, if there are enemies, go ahead and feed on them. And he goes, wait, for real? I was like, yeah. There's no innocence. Like, it was okay. So like, but if they're against us, I'm like, yes, go for it. And he was like, sick. Okay, cool. Did not expect that out of you. I thought you'd be like, no, I can't bite in. I was like, no, you can bite people. That's fine.
Yeah.
If we're already going to be killing them, I don't want you to have to like lose out on a meal.
Yeah, go ahead and get your nutrition.
Yeah,
man. Get your hit points back.
Get that, but also he gets that happy status, and that gives him a +1 on all of his rolls. I'm like, I love that.
And gives the enemy a bloodless status.
Yeah.
And so they get the -1. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that will do for today's edition of Baldur's Gate 3 Talk. I'm sure we will be back next week with more, as Cameron will probably have beaten the game by then. I'll probably be a little bit further. And yeah, maybe we will have sat down and done some multiplayer stuff. Who knows? So Cam, transitioning over into the other topic you wanted to bring to the table today, Super Space Club. This is a game by our friend in the Kind of Funny community, Graham of Legend. We've been working on this for many years. I feel like I probably played a version of it on like a phone at like a PAX East back in like 2017, 2018, something like that. It's been a long time since like I know he's been like dabbling with this game.
He's been making this game for literally years. Like, I have not known him, and he has, like, didn't meet him before. I talked to him once. I was like, when I first got to meet him in person and talk to him, I think it was for Kind of Funny Live 2. or maybe it was Kind of Funny Life 3. He did this the Snapchat filter for Kind of Funny
for
KFL
for both 2 and 3.
Yeah. So for 2, I met him at Kind of Funny Life 2, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm actually a game developer. I'm working on a game." I was like, "That's crazy cool." I followed up with it. I was like, just keeping track, like following him on Twitter and stuff, and just like knowing that he's been making this game continuously for like the last like 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, labor of love. And I like, it's finally out. I bought it on Steam, and it's like $15, but honestly, it's a solid $15 game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of unlockables. It is essentially, if you imagine, like if somebody wanted to take Asteroids and make it modern, that's this game.
Yeah.
And it's great. You have a little bit of like that Star Fox flavor with the different characters being different animals, and being kind of anthropomorphic and stuff. So it's not just like you're just like a random badger or something sitting in a cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, you are anthropomorphic. But they each have like just different like flavors to it. It doesn't really change up gameplay that much. I'm not too far into it. I'm only about an hour into it. Sorry, Baldur's Gate 3 took up my time, Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it took up the first hour of this podcast. So.
Yeah, I've picked the game up. I've not had a chance to hop into it myself because Baldur's Gate 3.
It's fun. It's super straightforward. It uses a lot about like an energy that's both your like you have to balance it out. It's a little bit of health. It's a little bit of like your shooting energy, and then it's also your movement energy.
Mm-hmm.
And like it matters. And I love the idea of like swinging around and doing this awesome stuff, and like the weight of your thrust like taking you to different parts of the map. There's different like things and like different obstacles around you that you can use to your advantage to kind of like take care of enemies, and it's just a lot of fun. I look forward to like really digging more in time into it. I think it's got that one more. Like let's go one more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the addition to different enemies having different like there are different abilities. Now that I think about it, I'm like, sorry, it's been a week since I played it. I'm sorry, Graham. I'm not doing the best like service on this. We're not sponsored or anything by it, but it's you know,
it's Asteroids plus like cool vibes.
Oh, and the music. Oh my gosh, the music is sick.
Yeah.
The music by far is probably the best part of this game. Is like he's found some independent artists to put together probably one of the best soundtracks of the year. Hands down. It's really, really good. It's a lot of lo-fi beats. It's a lot of like chill vibes. It's a lot of just like, it's not like a one more run, like the kind of tense atmosphere about it. It's I'm close to finishing up that objective, and I can clear that off my list. I want to see the next part of that objective. I want to keep going in like the kind of like as you learn more and more about the game, as you get better at it. I've unlocked one of the characters. It's Chameleon. I dig that. I just think there's a lot of really, really cool stuff going on in this game, and I can't wait to find out more about it and like learn more about it and unlock more characters and really get more back into it. But I will say the best thing to come out of it is definitely like the implementation of like the music choice is so good. He could have easily picked like a generic space soundtrack, but instead he really embraced the kind of like like the lo-fi beats, the like kind of like yellows and oranges and purples that are going with the aesthetic of space around you as you do each time you hop into it, it's a little bit different. It's super good.
Mm-hmm.
Super good.
Yeah, it's one I should load it up on my Steam Deck and just like play it before bed and stuff like that. And speaking of I didn't mention it in the Baldur's Gate stuff, but like playing Baldur's Gate on my Steam Deck during my trip was like great. It definitely had to be plugged in pretty much the whole time because it will drain your battery pretty quick. My battery is like on the flight to Orlando. I basically like had to stop, a couple hours in and switch to my Switch. And I was playing Disney Illusion Island, which is another thing. I'm not finished that game, so I won't talk about it here. But yeah, it was basically like playing those two. But yeah, then like plugged in at the hotel, offline mode, just kind of like loading up a save. Game, definitely doesn't look as great as it does on a PC. And I can't wait to play it on my PlayStation when it comes. Especially, I love that it has like cross save and stuff like that.
I will say one of the things that I know why they wanted to make it that give themselves an extra month is the asset loading time that it takes on higher end does take a while.
Yeah.
So like I'll start playing and like stuff hasn't loaded in yet. Especially in like dense areas where like in the third act of the game where there's a lot of buildings and stuff, it takes a while for stuff to load in. And so I'm like, I get why they have to optimize this for PS5
Yeah.
because it's going to take extra time, and I'm glad they're going to take this entire like month plus to do that. It's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah. But yeah, great having all these games available on the Steam Deck and just being able to lay in bed and play crazy good games. So lastly, we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Speaking of my trip, so yeah, I was in Orlando for a work conference. And then I tacked on a week at Disney World after the fact because I've never been to Disney World. This was my first time as somebody who grew up here in Arizona. Disneyland was like a very common end of the year like field trip for like, all right, the choir is going to go to Disneyland in California for like a 3-day thing where we're going to do like a competition one day and then a couple days at Disneyland or something like that with friends. And so like I had that. I had family trips out there all the time. And then obviously as an adult, I've fully leaned into Disney adult stuff. So yeah, Disney World. By and large,
Tell them the truth, Trevor. Tell them the truth.
I mean, by and large, I will still be I prefer Disneyland easily.
Yeah.
I did a park a day at, excuse me, Disney World. I did Magic Kingdom was my first day, which is largely kind of your parallel to Disneyland. It's got the Frontierland, Fantasyland, like it has Liberty Square is a new thing. But yeah, Tomorrowland kind of stuff. Then I did Hollywood Studios on the second day, Friday, which is more or less your California Adventure. And then I did Animal Kingdom Saturday and Epcot on Sunday. So Magic Kingdom was my first day. I basically like went in on each day. I kind of had like, okay, I want to do like, these are the things I want to do in this park. I had a checklist of things and they were largely like, here are the things that aren't in the other parks or like that aren't on the other side of the country. So like I did the Tron roller coaster ride, which is a ton of fun. Like the things that Disney World has that Disneyland doesn't are pretty cool. The Tron roller coaster is one of their newest ones. And it is basically, yeah, you are sitting in a roller coaster in a light cycle effectively. So you're sitting like as you're riding a roller coaster or as you're riding a motorcycle, and they throw like a kind of a back thing and a leg thing to like lock you in. But you are just out in the open and you go through a roller coaster, partly outdoors and then partly Space Mountain-y indoor in the dark kind of thing. Or there will be like videos of like, light cycles that are, chasing you on the track or something. You hit them off or whatever. It was a ton of fun. I especially got to, in particular, I got to ride in the front of the car. So like I was the first one out there. And yeah, it was cool. Then I did like a couple other things there that were more like, oh, like Disney World still has a people mover. That's cool. That was a fun little thing of like riding around Tomorrowland, kind of getting a feel for the place. I'd never done Carousel of Progress because that was a Disney World only thing, at least in my lifetime. So getting to see that kind of vibe was cool, like a nice little throwback to old Disney stuff. And then, yeah, like everything else, I think in Disney or in Magic Kingdom was like pretty similar to what I've grown up with in Disneyland, with the exception of, and this is kind of just the general vibe of Disney World, everything is so much more spread out because they didn't have the land restrictions that they do in Anaheim. So there was like just so much more. It took longer to get across the park because there's just more space between things. So I didn't like that in particular. And then like just the parks themselves, like at Disneyland, you walk out the gate, you walk 50 feet across the little courtyard and you're at California Adventure. Disney World, no, you got to get like a bus or a monorail or any number of the other like transportation methods they have that will take you between parks, which I only did like once or twice. I think I used like I had park hopper days for everything, but I only really used them I think like once or twice. And that was my first day there. Magic Kingdom was also like I ended early so I could get back to the hotel because I basically checked out of one hotel and needed to move to another, and so I spent like the rest of that day playing Baldur's Gate. Then Hollywood Studios is where they have like their Star Wars land, stuff like that. So that was cool to see, but it's also a very similar Batu layout to the one. I mean, it's pretty much the same layout, but like entrances are in different places. But other than that, like if you walk into the Disneyland Batu and you walk into Disney World Batu, it's like, oh yeah, these are largely largely the same kind of feel. So it was fun doing that and seeing that. They also were in Hollywood Studios. They had an Indiana Jones stunt show, which was cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I enjoyed that. It's largely pulling and influenced by like Raiders Lost Ark, but they have it set up as like a behind the scenes making the movie, making the stunts kind of thing. So like the thing starts out and you walk in and it's an auditorium, so everybody just kind of goes in, grabs a seat, and you're looking at a temple set kind of thing that the indie stunt double eventually comes out and does a lot of stuff, and it's largely like the opening sequence complete with like trying to grab the idol and outrunning a boulder kind of thing. And then like an assistant director off stage kind of shouts, all right, and cut, we got it. And then like Indy comes out and they start like breaking apart the set in like this big 3-piece set that they start like driving away or wheeling out and stuff like that. And then you see behind there's like a Cairo set for kind of like an Egypt fight sequence that they do. And then they kind of wrap up. They take that stuff out too, and then they bring out like a plane and they do kind of a final like gun shoot slash the airplane fight where like Marion's in the spinning airplane kind of thing. And yeah, it was a cool, fun thing. They definitely have a ton of fun with it. There was a moment there where like they have a quote unquote casting director come out and she's like, all right, we need some crowd noises. So everybody, we're going to go ahead and record some stuff. Go ahead and do these things. And I sat there. I'm like, I'm no scab. I'm not breaking a picket line for this. So yeah, it was an interesting, like, framework of like it's like we're shooting the movie kind of thing while all of the strike stuff is going on. But yeah, that was cool. And then I stayed super late that day because Fantasmic was happening that night at like 9:30, and like the park closed at 8, so it was basically like, all right, the park closes and then you go get your seats for Fantasmic if you're sticking around for Fantasmic. Fantasmic, very different show there because they're doing it in a space like just clearly designed for other things, I guess. But it was cool. They don't have the you don't know Fantasmic, so a lot of this stuff isn't going to necessarily make a matter or whatever. But like they don't have the like Columbia ship, which during the Fantasmic at Disneyland they use to kind of do like a Pirates of the Caribbean, like Jack and Elizabeth like outrunning and avoiding pirates and skeleton people and stuff like that. They don't have that in Disney World, so instead they do like a lot more live action snippets from other things. Like they had Pocahontas up there singing Colors of the Wind. They had Mulan doing a little bit of fight stuff from I'll Make a Man Out of You. They had Aladdin doing like climbing away from and jumping away from guards for like some one step ahead kind of stuff. And then they had Moana out like on the ground of the water as like water shooting and stuff like that. So it was a cool, like the changes they make are cool. But yeah, it's still, I prefer the California one myself. So that was day 2. Oh, also, this was also where I learned and realized like a lot of Disney World stuff food wise is built around buffets, and I don't like it. Like they do, like instead of like, okay, come sit down, we'll serve you an appetizer or just kind of a main course kind of stuff. They have some of those places, but like a lot of the sit down places are, okay, come in, drop 50 plus bucks and it's all you can eat. But like, I was like, I don't want all you can eat right now. I don't want, and at least not for that price. The only one I really did was that day in Hollywood Studios because it was part of the Phantasmic dinner package. So I did it was at Hollywood and Vine was like the restaurant, I think. And it was, in particular, it was also like Minnie's like holiday special kind of thing. And I was there basically the day that Halloween stuff started. So like Minnie's Halloween special ended up being like a character dinner of where like Minnie and Mickey and Goofy and Pluto were like walking around and like trying to interact with guests and stuff like that. And they came up and Minnie at one point was like, and I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need a picture, Minnie. Thank you. Like, Mickey comes up, I give him a fist pump or something like that. But so like, not for me.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, how it's nice that they stopped by still to your table. Like that's good customer service right there. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like the one dude, the dude is there by himself. The dude is
by himself. Yeah. They come by. I'm just eating my food, just trying to enjoy it, get my money's worth out of it. And so, yeah, they came by and, wave and stuff like that as they're doing. It was a lot more fun when like a family showed up and sat down like next to me and the girl starts freaking out, look, it's Goofy, and Goofy comes over and takes a picture and is signing their autograph.
That's the fun part about it, man. That's the fun part.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Also like thinking back, like I remember when I was that kid. Like that's so cool. There's a photo of me that I have that's like of me hugging Winnie the Pooh at Disneyland. And I'm like, oh man, that's back when I used to think that was the real Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Just like how I thought it was the real Mickey Mouse that I assaulted as a child.
And yeah, they were all like, Mickey was dressed up as a vampire and Goofy was a cowboy because of the Halloween stuff. So so that was that day. Then Saturday was Animal Kingdom, which is like, there are a few attractions for me to do, but it's really mostly a zoo, right? Yeah, it's largely a zoo / reserve with a few attractions. And the attractions were one of them I in particular really liked, Expedition Everest. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, you told me about this.
I was telling you about this. Yeah, it's a roller coaster. You kind of like, you ride up Everest and then like the track is out in front of you. And so the roller coaster then goes in reverse to like a different part of the mountain. And then like a Yeti starts to chase after you and the track kind of moves again and you ride forward to get out of there. And as somebody who's never done like a backwards roller coaster at Disney, that was a really cool experience. So I had a ton of fun with that one. And also that was one of the very few single rider lines that are there. So I got to dodge a 40-minute wait in the heat. That was another thing. Part of this, if I ever do a Disney World trip again, it's never going to be in August. I am not going to do 90+ degree in August, humid, just out in the sun all over the place. That was another frustration of just like I could probably be fine with like the distance between everything. It's the fact that like there's no shade anywhere. Like there was no escaping the sun beating down and sweat dripping off my face everywhere. So when I got to, ditch a 40-minute wait in, a sun-filled line for a single rider thing to get right on it, I absolutely enjoyed that. The other I did do kind of they have like a Kilimanjaro safari, I believe is what they call it, where it's basically like the back half of the park is just kind of like a nature reserve. You get in a Jeep or in a big safari truck and they kind of drive away and the person up front, it's like a serious Jungle Cruise kind of thing where the driver is giving you like actual facts about the animals and stuff like that. Yeah, you had a few jokes in there as well, but also again, Saturday at like 1:00 in the afternoon, super hot, so all the animals are finding whatever shade they can, and you didn't see a ton. I got to see like an elephant kind of bathing itself. I got to see some white rhinos out there, some giraffes, so that was cool. But like they were like, all right, yeah, the lion might be out there. No, it looks like he's probably down in the den. So I was like, yeah, all right. And then the other big thing that's at Animal Kingdom is like the Pandora Avatar stuff. So I went on those rides, and in particular, one of them, the something the passage, Way of the Passage, maybe, I don't remember. It's one I've heard super hyped up, and everybody's like, oh my god, it's so amazing. And I think it was just too hyped up for me.
Yeah.
It's motion simulator kind of stuff. It's similar to the Tron thing, where it's like you sit down and it kind of like straps you in from behind kind of thing, because you're effectively going to be like flying a banshee, which is one of the big flying things in Avatar. The fact that I know nothing about Avatar really and have never seen Avatar, I'm sure another reason that this ride just didn't really do anything for me. But beyond that, it was, I think, also just the fact that I've done the motion simulator thing in newer rides that I think do it better. Like I said to you, this is a ride that came out before the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride, where like you are controlling what you're seeing in there. And I think if it was the kind of thing of like this Avatar like video is going to play, but you can actually like steer and drive around it, that would have been like extra amazing. The fact that it is not that, and it is basically like you're just kind of in a canned kind of thing, is like, okay, this just didn't connect for me in a way I think it connects for a lot of other people. Still fine, but also there was a like one of the rooms you go into before that's kind of giving you like the briefing of like, here's how you're going to sit in this thing, and here's how you're going to get strapped in. I could see the screen burn from like the waiting kind of like the you know how like it'll have a screen that comes up and then it'll start playing like the video kind of thing. So the screen that's like just kind of their default screen, I could see that just burnt into the plasma whatever they had. So I was like, that's a weird thing that Disney should probably look at fixing and replacing these screens. So that was my Animal Kingdom day. And then Animal Kingdom was, I think, the day I went back to Magic Kingdom afterwards. In particular, I went back so I could do like fireworks and stuff that at the night. And then I also did Haunted Mansion there because Haunted Mansion was closed the first night I was there. And then lastly, Epcot. Epcot, the much like the Tron ride, the other like ride that you can really only like do the like online queue system for now, or you buy the individual lightning lane stuff, is their Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind ride, which I was telling you about.
Yeah,
and
that one sounds awesome.
This was easily the best ride that I went on there. So Cosmic Rewind is basically an evolution of Space Mountain, is how I describe it. It's you get in a car that is going to go, but each of the cars is basically like a 2x2 car, and it's seated on a thing that will like rotate around. So you're riding a roller coaster, but some parts of this roller coaster, the thing's going to turn and you're riding the roller coaster sideways, or it's going to turn 180 and you're riding in reverse. While big, what are they called? Sentinels? No. The big thing from like
the Eternals?
No, I mean the big thing from the Eternals.
Oh,
the bad of the Eternals. Whatever those things are that are like the size of planets.
It's like Galacticus. It's
those kinds of things. Yeah. Basically, one of those is like taking some power, and the Guardians are like going through time to try and like stop this thing. It's a very loose story. But it's also doing the thing that they do with the Guardians of the Galaxy Breakout ride at California Adventure, where like there's multiple different music tracks that'll play. So you get like a different track kind of each time, that just kind of, has that fun Guardians vibe to it. Speaking of Guardians Breakout, I did do Tower of Terror in Hollywood Studios. I forgot to mention that. And it is very interesting how like just the vibe of that very much changes like the vibe of the ride. Like that obviously is set to be a more spooky, scary thing. So people are like freaked out way more from the drops and stuff like that. Whereas like Guardians of the Galaxy is more like lighthearted and fun. And yeah, you're still going to scream, but like you're not, you're not, the illusion of you're in a malfunctioning elevator isn't there with you. But yeah, back to Cosmic Rewind. Oh, the other thing that I did forget. Another just like negative in Magic Kingdom's camp is the Space Mountain there is like silent. Like
what?
They're like California or Disneyland, there's like a Michael Giacchino like
Yeah.
composed like backing track that like plays as you go through the ride, and it gives you like high energy and stuff like that.
Yeah, it sanctuates the idea that you're like hurtling through space.
Yeah, nothing. There's just no speakers or anything in your carts in Space Mountain in Florida. It was very weird.
That's weird.
So yeah, you're just kind of going through in the dark and hearing screams and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, that's a choice. I don't know why the choice is different between those two. The other thing, and somebody asked me about this on Twitter, in California, that it's two per row car, whereas in Florida they have two tracks, but it's one person per row, and it's more Matterhorn kind of bobsled style.
Okay.
And I just didn't like that either. I think that was yeah. The one of the things that I will say, so I'll wrap up Epcot stuff. So Epcot, yeah, I did the Cosmic Rewind. I did like the Figment's Imagination ride and some of the other just Epcot things that are there, and they were fine. There was one that was like a Mission Space or something like that. It was another kind of a motion simulator, and I was like, oh, this is a very interesting feeling for a ride, because what it is effectively you go in, you're in like a party of 4, and you go into a motion simulator. They just shut the doors around you, and you are like strapped in and stuck. So if you get into that ride and you are super claustrophobic, you are not going to have a good time. It feels like there is no escape. And then there are a couple like things where it's like, all right, push buttons. This is what we were talking about. Like, if you don't punch hyperspace in Smuggler's Run, it'll still go to hyperspace. This was a ride where like each person, the theme of the ride is like you're going on a mission to Mars, and so there's going to be like a captain, a co-pilot, a navigator, an engineer, or something like that, and each of you has like 2 responsibilities that you're going to have to do. It's basically like push the button on the left, or push the button on the right. And none of the people I was with pushed the buttons except me. But the thing still does all the things. But it was like, that was a cool little motion simulator thing too. And I mean, the ride around it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then, the other part of Epcot obviously is just kind of like walking around a giant lake, and you're going through, here's the part that we've designed to look like Canada, where we've got Canada foods and little, aesthetics and stuff like that. And here's France, and here's Japan, and here's China, and here's England and Germany and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like, okay, you're going around the world. The one thing I didn't get to do that I wanted to do was the Ratatouille ride over in the French area there, and I had like a time set up for it on my Lightning Lane kind of fast pass thing of like return at 3:00 or whatever. I think it was like 3:15. I got there at 3:00 and the ride was down, and I was like, oh crap. And I waited around a little bit, again, hot as balls, and finally the time comes, like, all right, sorry, the ride's down, so we've given you a pass instead to go use this on other options. We've given you basically a free Lightning Lane to go use. I'm like, well, crap. I don't like, this is the last thing I wanted to do. I'm hot. It's the end of a 4-day Disney time. I'm ready to go back. And ultimately I just made the call to leave. And even there, it's like, okay, I had to walk all the way to the other end of the park. Then I have to walk all the way out to like the buses for like whenever my bus is going to take me back to my hotel. I will say, like, one of the things that Disney World has going for it, at least in my experience, was like free transportation to and from the hotel. You have to like make a reservation beforehand, basically like an hour before, just be like, hey, I'm going to be on the 9:00 bus to the parks kind of thing. And then you show up and the bus gets you there. And then coming back, it's like the buses just are there, depending on the park, they'll meet you at like this particular spot, every hour on the 40 or on the 30 or something like that. And so I got back out there just in time for like to have missed like the one thing. So I'd had to kind of wait out there for another hour for my bus to take me back to the hotel. But I was very appreciative when I got on the bus and looked at the app and the ride was still down. So I had not made a bad call of like leaving early or something like that. You know, still ultimately disappointing that I didn't get to go on like one of those rides that I did want to go on, but it was very much like I don't want to stick around because there's nothing else I really want to do around here, just waiting for it. So, but yeah, the other thing that Disney World has going for it, in addition to kind of like the transportation stuff, is they use, and Disneyland has started doing this too, but Disney World's been doing it for longer. So they have magic bands, which are basically like NFC
Mhm.
wristbands, or you can use your phones and stuff like that. And the tech they have working for some of those things is just like, it's a little big brothery, but it's just way better at terms of like I went on the Tron light cycle thing, and without going to one of those screens where it's like, hey, here's your pictures, go ahead and like write in the code or whatever, add the code to your phone. It just, they sent the pictures to my phone, like they showed up in my account on my thing. So presumably it was like they had some kind of motion sensor that caught my, either my phone or my magic band. They do also give you like a couple others of like, hey, are you in any of these too? So like, it's like, hey, like review these photos and see if any of them are you. And like, it was like 3 photos, basically, I think 3 other segments of the Tron cycle, that it gave me. And I was like, oh, I'm not in any of these, but like, it did give me the one that I was in. So, and then other places, where they didn't have that fully going, they did have like, okay, like here's the, you know, 6 screens of the most recent 6 people. Find the one you're in, and you can go basically tap, and it'll be added to your account. So that was cool. And yeah, that's basically like the tech integration, a little bit better at Disney World. But other than that, I will still prefer Disneyland all live long day. Yeah, even I would sooner go to Disneyland in the dead of summer heat, more so than, I think, also because California is not going to be as hot as Florida there. But yeah, so yeah, those are my Disney World. It's my Disney World download thoughts. Any I talked a lot there. Any questions? Any?
No, I already asked you all my questions before,
Yeah,
and I honestly just like don't have much else to say. My only big thing was like, I have heard Golden, or not Golden, Disney World. I said Golden World almost. I've seen Disney World hyped up so much over our lifetime. Like, Disneyland's great, man, but really it's all about Disney World. And I'm like, okay, sure, there's more space, I get it. But hearing that it's like, okay, it's more space, so there's a lot more, but it also sounds like there's a lot more bloat to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more just to kind of like fill up that space. Not everything is like as awesome as it could be, but it's also just more. It's more Disney.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool. I personally am like, I like how tight Disneyland is. I like how, you know, part of it is like I have arthritis, but as we know, like I need to take a half-day break because otherwise my feet start swelling. The joints in my feet start swelling up, and like it's a lot. But I can't imagine doing Disney World. I just can't. It sounds like way too much.
I just remembered there's also one more thing at Animal Kingdom I checked out just because I was like, it's hot. My Avatar ride time isn't for another, you know, hour or something like that. So I want to just go, like, I spent a good chunk of my Animal Kingdom day just in a place called Pizza Safari.
Pizza Far.
That was basically like a pizza place, but they had a blueberry slushy that I bought for like $5, and it was I bought 2 throughout the day, basically, because it was easily the best investment for a 90-degree day out in the sun. And I just kind of got to like nurse that. And so I spent a chunk of time just in Pizza Safari, enjoying one of those. But then I did go on a ride that was basically like, it's tough being a bug, I think. And not a ride, but like a show. It's tough being a bug that is a Bug's Life inspired. And it is like a 3D show that you go in. Oh, I also got to go on like, you know, Country Bear Jamboree kind of thing. That was fun getting to see that for the first time in many, many years, because that's still in Disney World. It's one of those kinds of shows. It's like I guess this one isn't animatronics. It had a little bit of animatronic stuff, but basically like everybody's like funneled in. You sit down in a show. you throw your 3D goggles on, and you've been shrunk down to the size of a bug kind of
Okay,
thing.
that's fun.
Flick kind of like walks you through, hey, here's like some fun facts about bugs, and it's, a Pixar produced kind of thing. But then it's like an animatronic Flick kind of is like peeking out from the ceiling, and the spotlight tries to find him, and you see like, oh, there's a real moving Flick kind of thing. And then it goes into more of the 3D movie stuff. But there's a sequence in there where like I think Hopper unleashes like spiders or something like that, and giant spiders
Oh my gosh,
come down from the ceiling and scare the shit out of all of the kids in this room. I was like, this is the most horrifying thing if you are a 7-year-old that got brought into
How
this.
traumatic.
Exactly. Like the screams were the most blood-curdling screams of anything I experienced the rest of the time. And then there are also things like they're like it's like a 4D movie. So like, one of the bugs shoots like, a foul smelling thing to, fend off predators, and like the cloud comes out of the screen, and they also shoot some sort of mist out of the back of the seats in front of you, you get like an odor that hits you. And they have like a thing where like at one point like cockroaches go like skittering by you or something like that, and like something in this seat like both in your back and like under your butt basically like jostles, and so it's like you get poked a little bit, and you've got cockroaches like sliding out under you kind of thing. It's like it was like who's like what mad person signed off on this for kids at Disney
That sounds
World?
that sounds like the best thing ever, just in concept of like, how do we get these kids? How do we say fuck your kids at our theme park? And that's how you do it. And that's great.
I mean, like it's an evolution of, I remember years and years ago at Disneyland, after the Captain EO show, they put a Honey, I Shrunk the Audience was, I think, the show that they put in the Captain EO theater that did that same kind of thing of like, okay, we're gonna spritz you with water at some point, we're gonna have little things kind of poke you, it's a 4D experience kind of thing, and so it's very much one of those. But yeah, the fact that they also have just giant animatronic spiders coming down and scaring the crap out of kids was wild. Yeah, so that was a whole other thing there. Another thing back at Hollywood Studios that they had there, so they don't have Pixar Pier like California Adventure, but they do have like a Toy Story Land basically, and that was pretty cool because it's much more themed. Like you've got everything. It connects directly to the Star Wars land, and there was a bit where I was kind of like looking down as I was like walking between the Star Wars land into the Toy Story land, and I watched as the bantha tracks or the droid tracks that are kind of put into the ground transformed into giant children's shoe prints, because you are a toy in the Toy Story land. So so the world around you is big, board games and stuff like that are giant because of the size and scale that you're playing at and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it was like, the rides are like Tinker Toys, and Connects and stuff like that are like building the queue and kind of the lines for the rides. So yeah, that was cool. Got to go on the Toy Story Mania, which is basically Midway Mania, a couple times there. And yeah, that was pretty much my Disney trip. A fun time overall, but yeah, just a lot of like misery in particular due to just the heat and messiness of going to Disney World in August. Not the best timing to do that, but still had a good time nonetheless. And now I can say I've done it. So yeah, that was fun. So all right, I think that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you, Cam, for joining me for our Baldur's Gate 3 talk and then Super Space Club and Disney World chatter. You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, give a massive shout out to Let's Plays coming back. Trevor's putting those out from Baldur's Gate. There will be other Let's Plays also going forward. I didn't record anything while you were gone, but we'll definitely be recording stuff. Also, what am I saying? See me at PAX West. I'm gonna be at PAX West. I'm gonna be there doing the rounds, seeing some games, going to some panels, meeting folks, and just very excited to get back into the space. The games media space that we have kind of been vacant from for the past couple of years, as we kind of let things get back to as close to normal as possible in a post-COVID world, or a post lockdown, I guess best way to put it, because pandemic's still ongoing technically.
I mean, well, technically it has been ended, but yes, it's obviously still going.
Yeah,
or at least I guess the like national emergency has ended.
Yeah. The capitalism winning out over people's needs. It has happened. That post whatever that like situation, whatever the world is that we're living in now. Now that that's kind of settled into what it is, you'll be seeing me. Yeah. Only reason Trevor's not going is because Trevor literally just got back from 2 weeks of like traveling and everything. So obviously tapped out on like PTO days and whatnot.
I still have the PTO days. It was the combination of just coming back. Yeah. Don't necessarily want to spend the money on flights to Seattle, flights and hotel and stuff in Seattle. Food,
like all the things that I've been prepped and like basically saving for this entire time. You got to spend that at Disney and whatnot. So like it's also like I'm excited. It's my first solo trip. I'm going to be rooming with some friends. I'm really excited just to kind of like visit Seattle for the first time. If you have any recommendations of like a restaurant like I need to hit while I'm there, hit me up on either Blue Sky or Instagram or Threads. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I'm officially just like totally off of Twitter.
There you go.
My account's still up there because if you find me on there and you want to like, hey, what is your name or how do I find you on those other platforms? Go to me on twitter.com/RevCabot. Go to my first post. It has my link tree in it. Hit my link tree. Head on over. Check, like it has everything listed out there. But while you're at it, also make sure you follow us on other platforms as well as YouTube. Subscribe. Watch some videos. We have a lot of cool stuff.
Oh yeah, I never opened That Nerdy Site, Blue Sky, or Threads. I don't know if you've looked into doing that.
Threads, it's connected to Instagram. And so
we technically have.
We do have technically have Instagram.
One, yeah. We just never do anything with it.
It's because it's less about like Instagram's not as friendly of a platform for like updates.
Yeah.
So much as it's great for like events.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So yeah, I'm super excited for us to like, we are also like, this has been a great hiatus to kind of like recharge creative batteries and everything. Like we have a lot of like, we're like, I know you and I both have a lot of excitement about everything that's kind of happening for the rest of the year. So, lots of cool things happening as far as like game space goes. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 kind of like, we knew it was going to be like something, but for it to be like this big has been great. Armored Core 6 is coming out for me next week. One of the reasons I gotta wrap up Baldur's Gate 3 is because I got Armored Core 6, and then right after Armored Core 6 is Starfield. So like it's pretty intense. It's pretty insane.
Yep.
I'm super stoked. Also, I'm happy that I looked at it. It's like Starfield is definitely like it's on Games Pass, of course, but I'm just like, yes, don't have to spend the money to buy. It's just gonna be on Games Pass.
Yep. You follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. I'm still on Twitter. I'm not on the other things because if Twitter dies, I'm just going to kind of enjoy probably not doing social media as much. And even like That Nerdy Site, they finally like put TweetDeck behind the Twitter blue paywall. And I was like, well, like if Cameron had not found a workaround that can like auto schedule tweets and stuff like that, I was going to be done. Stay tuned for more Baldur's Gate 3 Let's Plays with Tyson Bahamutsa, my cleric from our home game. And then we will, just as an update on other programming, that D Plus show will be back next month after PAX, basically. With Cameron going to PAX, there's no point in like coming back for a week and then having to basically be gone for a while. And hopefully that also gives Logan a little bit of time to get settled in. He's over at law school now, so we'll see what his availability is going to look like, if he's able to continue joining us or not. So yeah, we'll keep that one still dark for another few weeks, but we will be back. I might do an episode while Cam is at PAX on High School Musical, the musical series 4,
There you go.
which I stayed up super late last couple nights watching. So yeah, maybe we will do that. But normal stuff will be back post PAX. But yeah, keep an eye out for Cameron, and I'm sure he'll be posting stuff from PAX as well. All right, well, that is going to do it. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site, or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you again for listening. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.